so powerful in this series, but it was in the hands of T1 every time that we've seen it. Now Croco is going to be wielding him.
And something that I'm going to be looking towards here is, I think the setup for Croco is great in all his lanes. They have a nice damage spread as well. They are a composition that is squishy, so you do want to be on even footing or ahead. If you get into the mid to late game, you want to look for the skirmishes, the 2v2s, the 3v3s, because, you know, Orianna and Nidalee, it's not the greatest of combos. Na is fairly gated by his cooldowns. The one thing, though, is that Ona will have basically guaranteed prio on bot and mid, especially in the early game. And the tendency of T1 to play only Takana, I think in this context might be a trap. I would love to see them try and actually utilize that. Yeah. Look for some early invades, actually make use of the pressure, and whether or not they're going to do that, especially with T1, is always a question. But in that light, I would love for them to play, because I think if you get this Varus ahead early, it's so hard to play the game as sprint and effort.
Yeah, especially when you're outranged
yeah.
this considerably. Something that we have yet to mention so far is the fact that Live Sandbox, you know, they've got melee mid laner, very low range top lane.
Yep.
Ophelio is notorious for not necessarily having the greatest range, Calibrum permitting, of course. And so if they can get into a position where they are in control of the game, they get vision control, they have flanking wards, things like that, Live Sandbox win the game. It's fine.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
It's smooth.
They fall behind and it's a disaster. It's awful. Feels horrible. You get spears to your face and you're like, stop doing that. I can't do anything about it. It's like that guy standing there holding your forehead and your arms aren't long enough to hit back, you know? It's not a good time.
Vivid imagery. I really enjoy as well that even if you wouldn't speak a word of English, just by the tone, you can hear how bad it really is if you don't get ahead, you know. And
that's what I rely on. My English not so good.
You speak
however,
Australian. You can't fault you for that.
Yeah, no, it's actually true. We've got like a guy that speaks Australian, a guy that speaks Dutch English over here as well. So
yes.
It's hard.
Quality Dunglish.
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, that's a thing.
Is that a thing?
It is actually a thing. It's what our Prime Minister speaks.
Oh, very nice.
It is very nice. And the early prio here for Teddy and Carrier should, I think, around level 2, 3 really start to come through when you get the ability to actually get these longer trades as Varus, get your Blight stacks up early with that Halo Blades, and then cash in on them as Carrier. Who's in?
Yeah, it does have the Aftershock, and that's what he's going to utilize to buy him some space to get himself out.
As pointed out, though, Ona, he's back towards topside. He's not wanting to do anything, and instead has Prince and Effort to take control of this lane early. And I think this is fine, considering how early they find the shove. Should not put Teddy and Carrier in a dangerous position, especially with Croco also being around that bot side. And that's the matchup.
Yeah, this is not a good time. And it's only gotten worse, right, with the Kingslayer nerf as Fate going to dive forward. We can see that the stats for the Sylas very good, but it was a different situation for the Sylas. There's the dissonance, gets the slow into Fate. The clockwork is well and truly winding up, as Faker is not going to bite off more than he can chew. And damn, already this lane is feeling horrible to this Sylas.
Insane. The pressure that Faker is able to have. And there you see Fate trying to look for a short trade. Instead, what he's treated to is Faker getting in so many autos there, and especially with the Orianna, extra damage that you get early, and a really high set of cooldowns in the early game for Fate. Feels horribly. Yeah, your fleet is going to help you a little bit.
Oh, that doesn't help anyone.
Not a lot, no. The sustain doesn't do anything, and the movement speed also didn't help you there, so rough spot.
Yeah, this is it's a difficult lane anyway, right? But it's only gotten worse since the nerfs. It's like, yay, my Q does a little bit more. However, the ability that I used to max first and be very happy about in the Kingslayer is now far less relevant.
Yes. It doesn't feel good. And this is, of course, the price that you pay for blinding Sylas. And if there is a gank, the setup for Croco is amazing. If there is a 2v2 between Owner, Faker, and Croco and Fate, still plenty of power available, right? And the ultimates, I think, on T1 side, 3 amazing ones. I guess you can say that the Gnaw obviously is by far the strongest as Owner.
Oh yeah, in he goes. Carrier's going to get the flash. They're looking for the stun onto Effort. Hook is going to connect though onto the Leona as now Prince trying to get that damage down. The Ignite's ticking, but Carrier does make it far enough away. We were looking at that teleport ward there as Summit not going to come in. It was a little bit too close to the Gnaw at that point in time, but No one going to go down just yet as the piercing arrow lands onto Prince.
I'm really happy that we see Owner pay visit to his bot side, as pointed out. Would love to see them try and get carry ahead. Also good read from Croco, identifying that they might want to look to snowball this bot.
Oh dear. Well, he goes into the mist as now Teddy looks for some autos, gets that Hail of Blades, and that's going to help him out there. As now Summit with a big shove onto Canna up here on the top side of the map. This is what happens, right? Like, this is actually a huge test for Canna. What have we been most critical about for this player? And it's his ability to play more on the weak side without having Owner up here in his pocket. Let's see how he does this game. So far, he's getting shoved in, but, you know, often that is what happens.
You will, yeah.
If just left to your own devices in the early game, Cannon does do quite well in lane.
Also notable, Summit went for the Airy. We've seen a lot of Electrocute Nas today as well. Airy providing you with more immediate poke, but obviously doesn't feel as nice later in the game. Prince also going for Lethal Tempo, not the Conqueror, that's very popular. And I actually think Kana should be fine now, right? Like, if he can get the shove on this next wave and with Owner hovering topside, should be relatively able to, can get it back in. Summit crucially didn't use his teleport. And that to me is a signal that he's forfeiting immediate lane pressure in an attempt to try and really pressure Kana in a 1v1.
That's a big... Nah. And Summit is going to get walloped and has to use the flash to get out of the way of it. Spear will connect.
Ooh.
That's a parting gift if ever I've seen one. Nice work, Owner. Summit gets the information, though.
Well, I bet Summit's happy as Tippy still. So it's not a true disaster.
Yeah.
The flash, obviously unfortunate. And now as Kana, you have the same choice. Do you teleport back to lane for the immediate pressure? Or do you allow Summit to set up a nice wave state here? Summit is taking his potions. He's feeling healthy. I mean, relatively so. And yeah, both top lanes like, no, I want to look at that bot lane. There might be some wards there. We might get some action.
A possibility, most definitely, is now Teddy. Not much of a wave crashing towards this turret, so he's going to be fine for the moment. Prince and Effort. Effort standing in defensive position, and so everything's going to be totally fine. Both of these bot laners looking like they're pretty comfortable. Of course, Prince going to have a lot more late game power, but Teddy more looking towards the mid game for him to really start getting his work done. These piercing arrows are... It's sort of is an interesting champion, is the old Varus, because he can stay relevant throughout the entire game if these arrows can continue to land, right? Because getting all of that preparatory poke is going to be very, very beneficial. As Croco already started the work on this Mountain Drake.
That's a sneaky one.
Yeah.
I don't think they know. And that's the benefit, of course, of getting in there early, right? Wonder why the pings went down. Also, don't know if Croco sneaked in over the ward or a trap, or if he was taking the blast cone over. So might have to check for that in the replay. But now, of course, T1 do know. Giving up the first Drake, not the end of the world. But this is looking like a little bit of a better early game that we've seen from the Sandbox. Last times, though, it went wrong at the first Herald. And that is, I think, a trap they need to avoid here. Playing into T1 with an advantage is not a fun experience.
Well, getting a flash would also be good, as immediately Teddy's going to cleanse. Has to flash, though, because the Flay was in range. He's only got a piercing arrow to throw down, but now no flash for Teddy, no cleanse either, as they're going to be moving towards this first Herald fight. So more good news for Live Sandbox, despite the fact that they did not manage to get the kill.
And yeah, that's Owner being on top side. And they will get Herald for this, I think, without contestation. Faker having to shove in mid, low mana on Fate, no teleport available. Summit might look to contest, but especially with Croco still being on the bot side, that's not happening. And you give up one play. So this is one of those scenarios where I think it's actually T1 that wins out in the trade in the long run. Yeah,
kind of not the end of the world with Owner right in position. So.
The main downside is that if there is no punish window available where Teddy doesn't have flash and cleanse, and if you can utilize that as Live Sandbox and you keep the Varus on the back foot, the one downside I think of Lethality Varus is that once he falls behind, unless he picks up a couple of kills in mid-game fights, it becomes so hard to feel useless. Because it's fine if you're even on the curve, it can be super oppressive if you're ahead of the curve. Calculated by Owner.
Yep, Croco didn't have Smite, so not able to steal that one away.
And this is also something that, while Croco has paid so much attention to his bot side, and it's paid off as well in terms of getting a lead there, Owner has been much more about utilizing a bit more optimized farming pathing. And yeah, you know, there's pressure on bot side, summoners are forced, but if you don't use that window, and Owner just gets to comfortably farm up to his Mythic, and walking up to any objective in the mid-game against this T1 comp is going to be very hard for Sandbox.
Yeah. Let's see whether they can effectively utilize it, and we'll also see where Shelly is going to park herself. Kind of expecting that one going to head towards the top lane, but that might be recency bias speaking just a little bit with the fact that Canna has had owner's attention throughout a lot of their more recent games.
This is looking, I wanted it on both sides, and I'm actually seeing owner path, so that makes me happy.
Yeah.
I would really like that. I think that keeping Teddy relevant in this game is going to make you, in a general, feel a lot better, as Shove found now Teddy needs to deal with his wave. Oh, still so far behind. 20 CS. Oh, this is a scuttle.
Yeah, great hook to come forward here as Carrier is just going to flash onto Prince, but immediately he has the cleanse, takes the lantern as well to get himself back into a better position. The spears and the arrows need to land if they want to set something up, but there is no Drake here. T1 just posturing right now to give Teddy as much space as they can. The rest of Live Sandbox trying to get down towards that bottom lane. Man, Thresh is skinnier than I thought. He got missed by that arrow. Nicely done. That's, yeah, okay, unfortunately, we've got to get back on the treadmill.
At one Helios.
Oh, and okay.
As well, well, that's plates. It would chip me at least. Because Kyria, even though he used his flash in what I felt like was a great bluff, I don't know if T1 actually was in a position to turn as fast there. Oh, Faker's coming as well.
Yeah, fish
looking
barrel
dangerous.
Down here. There is a shockwave available.
Double TP available for Sandbox though.
Right now, it's just T1 positioning themselves around here, trying to get as many plates as they can before they unleash the Rift Herald. There's a very deep teleport to come through from the Silas. There's Effort in a bit of trouble. Croco looking for something. Is the Shockwave going to come through? But the Heartbreaker is buffered. Croco makes it out. Fate spotted here by Ono. That's great news for T1. As Fate not even able to get himself out of the way of the spear. As Ono walking further forward than even Effort was expecting, as now the fight is going to break out. Solar Flare goes completely wide. They do get the flash out, so Croco has to use everything. Is now Prince down to 350. And T1 still closing in. The war of attrition from this poke composition working beautifully right now. And if Ona had missed maybe 2 more of these spears, this could have been a very different situation, as Effort almost just barely getting missed by that last spear, as that piercing arrow is dangerous, as Fate has found Faker. There's the shockwave, but it's more of a hula hoop here for Fate, unfortunately.
Yeah, Faker making really good use of the phase rush there, showing why that movement speed is so highly valued. In general, on Orianna, just walks out of it, and you will always have to delay. And hats off to Ona. Not just for hitting the spears, because while that is very obviously a big part of what won them that, but also the presence of mind, recognizing that there is a chance that they might get flanked, right? Because if Fate goes unnoticed there, and they don't actually know that he's there taking that, maybe he gets a Leona ultimate, and then the solar flag comes down on a Teddy that I think at that point did have summoners available. You blow them up, you turn that into some bot side pressure, they don't get to put down Herald, get more gold on Teddy, and you're feeling peachy. But instead, T1, even without picking up a single kill, picked up many plates. Now Teddy's on his mythic, so is Ona, and I don't think that now you can walk up to this objective as Live Sandbox. Summit, very fed, has TP available as well, but the rest of his team just not in the greatest of spots.
Yeah, this is really dangerous. Thresh nowhere near Prince right now, but we'll be able to regroup. T1 haven't started off the Drake just yet. There's a control ward in the back of the pit. Faker just getting to work on this mid lane, making sure that they have all of their lanes in order. Ducks in a row here for T1. And the bottom lane, once again, going to be pushed further forward. It's on its last legs down there. One last plate to go down potentially for T1, who currently have about a 1,000 gold lead. Now they're looking for their first Drake as well.
The real question is, do you just never rotate Kana so Fate can't steal his ultimate? No, just push. Just make sure Summit doesn't TP, okay?
Yeah.
Just that's your only job. We'll win. We can't have Fate jump in and Maganar all of us, because outside of the Maganar, the Leona ult obviously the best one. The ult from Teddy can be really nice, but obviously we know how hard Chains of Corruption can be to land. We've seen that skill shot miss very often.
Yes.
It is, I think, one of our most often missed ones. Maybe up to with Ash Arrows, but Ash Arrows, it always feels very non-committal, right? And it's
I feel like the history of Chains of Corruption was when Varus first came out, it was actually, it felt like it was impossible to land for like actually everyone. It was so funny. I remember praising, like, I think it was Yellow Pete back in the day. It's like, wow, he landed it. Speaking of landed it, goodbye, Mr. Cannon. Can't even get the stuns off. As Carrier turns up, that Solar Flare is going to connect, and that is a very dead Lightning Rat.
And hey,
Now, the top lane out of turret, likely to fall down as well. Plate's not going to be there as even more spears landing. Owner really earning his paycheck today.
and hey, if your side lanes are either conditional in case they're not, or not that great at setting up for Italy, that's fine. Just take your Leona, you know? It's set up, take it and go. Leona just walks everywhere that Owner does. It's the combo there. It is a clean setup then to land the spear, take the damage, and teleport coming through here now from both Faker and Kana. Really going all in on the second Herald. Don't think it's that important of an objective, but might get ourselves a fight here, Atlas.
Yeah, they're still looking for it. Teddy's walking over Vision. Moving towards this one as Shirley is going to reset. Teddy going to get some vision here of the rest of Live Sandbox backing away. Phalanx going to be put into line once again. T1 will be able to collect this one. Fate goes and grabs himself that Solar Flare. Now the siege is going to begin, but counter siege certainly an option here for T1, and their line wave clear absolutely fantastic with the Teddy piercing arrows. And Faker's just chilling out here on the top side of the map, trying to get to this Orianna critical mass stage. 10 CS a minute pretty comfortably at this point in time.
And for Live Sandbox, this is starting to feel eerily similar to game number 2. And I think unlike game number 2, this T1 comp, they can dive you very easily, but they don't even need to dive, and that's a terrifying thing. As we saw there, they're more than willing to play it patient. And if you play it patient and you keep control of your flanks and of the vision around you, you can do this with relatively little opportunity, because the Live Sandbox comp, once a fight has started, I think they're amazing, right? The mobility that's available, the big teamfight ultimates, Fresh provides both peel as well as aggressive plays. Silas and Viego are like these type of messy skirmishers par excellence. The problem is, if you don't get into that position, like how do you actually start a fight? Like, you're great at skirmishing, but if this happens,
yeah, you're dead.
You're dead. And then if you're not able to set the fight, you're kind of relying on T1, but T1, if they hit a skill shot on someone, that someone generally will be dead.
Oh, it's another Solar Flare to come out as Carrier goes on a wild ride, hit by a hook in the middle of it. He's able to flash himself out to safety. But that was exciting.
That was a lot.
Whoa. Thank you, KT Roster, I guess. I don't know. That was very exciting. As Canna here on the bottom side, Croco getting speared and arrowed. And this is the danger of this composition, right? T1 can just set up the shooting gallery wherever they feel appropriate, especially with the amount of map control that they have. And we mentioned earlier just how dangerous it is to give a comp like this map control, as that's a big old Gnar into the wall. The cannon in trouble is going to have to flash out of the way of the spear. As he takes so much damage, Canna wants more, and is going to pick it up with the hyper proc. The turret isn't going to be able to come any further forward, and Shirley is going to get her work done. Hook not going to be avoided here by Teddy, who finds the Chains of Corruption onto Effort. But he uses his cleanse, gets himself out of the way, and Effort going to hold on to his flash. So nicely done there by the Thresh. Still, it's going to be difficult. Now finds the Flay onto Owner, as Shirley also finds the headbutt onto this inhibitor turret.
And that's 30 seconds to the Drake. It's Cloud Soul, of course it is. You know, we had to get one.
Oh,
the dream.
So excited.
You wanna, you know, maybe some
more
maybe
Chains
some
of Corruption. You can,
yeah,
it's non-committal CC, right? You have that one off cooldown as often as possible. You just keep pressing that R button. Beautiful, love it.
We in the LCK have learned to truly appreciate the Cloud Souls for what they're worth, and I think a lot of other regions, they don't really appreciate what they have. As just, you don't need to do this as T1, and this is again feeling very similar to what we see Teddy do here, where he just says, no, Fresh, I'm gonna take you down.
오, 지렸다요?
Bussin'. Fantastic work there by Canna. Owner showing his appreciation, as well as the second Drake will go over to T1 quite nicely.
And now, as Live Sandbox, you have the skirmish composition that's playing from relatively far behind. The spikes are getting hit, Kana's getting more tanky, gets the wit's end, makes him more of a nuisance in the side lane, allows him to charge up that passive a little bit quicker. Owner sitting on the Night Harvester, which is an incredible amount of damage. Teddy is getting closer and closer towards that 2-item spike as well. It's just it's rough. I think you're reliant as Liv Sandbox on mispositions, and thus far T1 haven't really shown a lot of those. As here as well, like this teleport comes in, it's very telegraphed, but you can't move into your jungle. There's no vision, there's no way for you as Liv Sandbox to reliably place check this, because if you walk into unwatered territory, into a poke comp, that's scary enough, but it's also a not Oriana Leona comp.
Yeah, so much CC. The pick potential here is just ridiculous. His effort walks over the control ward, Croco in position, the rest of Liv Sandbox, they're all rotating together. Going to be difficult for T1 to get that collapse back, but you saw it was just Teddy left in that mid lane, and even though he didn't have his cleanse, he still had his flash available, and his wave clear certainly going to be dangerous, as Fate says, no, I want to be able to hit you with your own ultimate. See whether he can actually find it, as now Teddy is just trying to, walk this one out as best he can. Escaping from the Sylas is going to be difficult as he lands the chains over the wall. Goodbye, Mr. Varus. Right as I was saying that Varus was safe, he gets killed, so I need to apologize now for the caster curse.
He was in fact not safe.
Yeah, big sorry.
That's okay. It felt maybe to Teddy for a moment there. Unfortunately, the chase potential of Sylas obviously great. Also Teddy flashing in the line, not ideal, and this is the kind of flank you need.
Yeah, Liv Sandbox looking for even more here. Teddy still dead for 10 seconds at the summit. Has found 2 with his slicing Maelstrom. Faker immediately taken down. Carrier is just running away as best he can. The Baron's been alive for 50 seconds, and Liv Sandbox are trying to end that now as they move over to the pit.
The exact situation that you need to avoid as T1. The kill on Teddy is one thing, that's fine, that's not the end of the world, but then why are you sieging in mid without control of your vision? Right, they walk in very deep, get greedy for some damage on the mid lane turret, and now they're gonna lose the Baron this early on.
Yeah, it's an absolute disaster. Teddy really desperately wanting to hold on to his flash, and unfortunately he uses it and dies anyway. So a bit of a shame, as we're going to check this one out as well, as they looked for the pick onto Prince, but unfortunately the counter engage was too good.
Yeah, you can't. You're not allowed to be that far up, especially without your full team into the composition that Liv Sandbox had. You know, this is the one way that they get back into this game, and yes, you still have a gold lead as T1, you still have an incredible team fight, but now you're playing into a Baron, which Liv Sandbox should be able to turn into, at the very least, a turret or 2 extra, get themselves from a major gold disadvantage into even footing, or in a more positive sense, if they're able to get a kill or 2 as well, an advantage. And it's not like they're skilled poorly, you know, I think their team can be clunky at times, but
I mean, they get outranged, right? But
that's mostly
if they are able to get any sort of map control, then you can mitigate that by getting yourself some good flanks and closing in on this team. And we've seen, you know, T1 fall to the hands of powerful Sylases before. Of course, Gory comes to mind in that 71-minute game or whatever it was.
Yep. And Fate is getting more and more fed.
Yeah.
Mobility, and we've gone from a game where Fate was getting bullied by Faker. Oh, look at the Sylas. He's 1 auto away from getting taken down. And here we are, because this is what the Sylas does. When the gameplay isn't clean of your opponents and you're able to find isolated targets to duel, you're in a great spot. Kana, you can't get caught here. Drake is coming up soon.
Yeah, he's teleporting in vision, and it is going to get cancelled. Goodbye, Kana. He's taken out once again. Another overextension here for T1. 46 seconds on the Drake. They can give up a lone Cloud Drake, but they want to hold on to that win condition, or potential win condition, of the Cloud Soul.
And it's still an option,
the
right?
Elder earlier, yeah.
The real problem is with kind of dying there, he also doesn't get to teleport into the fight immediately, right? So it is a high-risk, low-reward play, because even if you do get out, you don't have your teleport available. And now, contest on this Drake looking basically impossible. And yeah, with stopwatch second as well, like owner's damage not going to be as threatening as some of the Pino comes to mind type of build that we've seen with the Horizon Focus, where it's really all about those spears. This is still a bit more of a hybrid build, where you're also able to jump in deep. And spikes being hit are bigger for T1. They still have a gold lead. But this is, to me, something that scares me, because this is the first time that Liv Sandbox have actually looked like Liv Sandbox in this series, where they're able to find these decisive type of plays And this is exactly what you need in the game 3. I mean, it's obvious because like if you don't do this, you lose the game. But it's also, you know, it's a pivot in the draft and a pivot in the gameplay.
Yeah.
Yeah, too far up. Very greedy. Overextension. You know their bot side as well. Not a lot to say about that one.
Nope. And Summit invests the ult. Absolutely worth it there just to make sure that he gets the stun. Easy peasy. Now, T1, can they regroup? Can they sort themselves out? Because wrestling for vision control is the aim of the game at this point, as they are bleeding gold lead up against Live Sandbox. Even on Drakes now. As T1 still pushing past the river, still trying to get pressure into the jungle. And you can see Ona with a 30 CS lead. Certainly feeling like he has Croco's number right now, but this composition isn't just a straight-up composition, right? You don't want to just straight-up fight your opponents. You want to land all that poke and then lock down the picks with all the CC.
Need to land at least a little, or have someone that you can just hunt it to 0. But look at the builds. That was actually really hard. Stopwatch available for Fate. Sonya's available for Summit. Prince going for the very defensive Aphelios build, which means that especially with a Thresh, with Locket as well, a lot of this aggressive damage is kind of mitigated from T1, right? So blowing someone up 100 to 0 seems a lot less likely, and this is where I think the T1 composition, much more than in a lot of other T1 comps that we've seen, still allows them to pull through. Because what they have is a comp that can still win off of a single good series of teamfight ultimates. And that I think is something that's always going to give you comfort, no matter the game state. Hit a Mega Gnar into an Ori ball, and you're good. As he does land it, doesn't mean anything though.
Nope, gets on to Carrier. Just says stay still for a little while, and Carrier says okay. And he does, and then he moves away. So it's going to be fine, but sometimes he's got to hijack something. And Fate level 16, that hijack is going to be back off cooldown once again, so he can steal a different ultimate. And there are a lot of different options available, as Fate going to be taking this Rift Scuttler, and there's nothing that T1 can do about it.
Is there anything more romantic, Atlas, than going down 0-2 and still winning the series?
Reverse sweeps, I think, are the most romantic.
Right?
Absolutely.
It is on theme.
Oh, yeah.
For Sandbox. And if you're, you know, maybe you're not the biggest LCK aficionado, you're just like, let's see. Let's check out some playoffs. Live Sandbox are a team that got the nickname of Romantic. They're the Romantics of the LCK due to their, I want to say, hot and cold approach to gameplay.
Yes, it's like watching a drama.
It is.
You never know what to expect from Live Sandbox, but it's certainly always very exciting and enthralling.
It gets your heart pumping.
Yeah, it gets you going. I don't know what that quote's from, but it's an older movie, and I don't know.
Well, it's also in you know, it's a sample used in the Kanye West and Jay-Z song. Yeah, it's really nice. As I wonder whether we're going to see anything happen before this Drake. Don't think it should be. But giving over Soul Point to either of these two teams, if you pick it up as Live Sandbox, you make your life so much easier, because then you can start forcing T1 to run into you, even though they might not necessarily want to before they've landed that poke.
Yeah, lots of extra movement speed available as well to keep Prince safe. Things like that certainly going to be very, very important. Live Sandbox moving towards getting some vision control. You can see T1 have reasserted some dominance in that fashion over the last little while, especially to the north of the map. But now Live Sandbox going to move in there and get rid of it where they can. The Baron has respawned, is now Canna looking for Summit, but the teleport will come forward. That's a flash, and Summit just immediately goes golden, buys time for Fate to get on in here. And Canna, I don't know what that was, but it did not work.
Not sure either. And again, he gets caught in the side. And again, it is just before a major objective comes up. T1, not really the type of composition where you can use this pressure that's found on bot side to turn it into an objective take. And that leads you to a situation where now you don't get anything. You might have to invest teleports to contest an objective that you might still not get, because Kana is going to have to teleport in basically immediately and then still charge his Negabar. Huge wave being shoved in on bot side as well. Faker needs to catch that, which takes away from some of the pressure. You have to set up this objective, and T1, gold lead, negligible.
Yeah, it's almost gone. And Live Sandbox really, I feel like as far as teamfights are concerned, they're looking like they're in a great position. Not a lot of flanking wards or anything like that, so Summit's not going to be able to surprise T1 at this point in time. But Live Sandbox can just move straight over to this Baron and say, all right, you can have your second Cloud Drake. We'll just take the Baron buff. And T1 say that they do not want that. This is in fact the trade that they like making, as Keria going to get a bit of a face check onto Fate, who's going to Gnar him into the wall. Solar Flare defensively as the chains will connect onto the Gnar, as the Shockwave does come forward as well. Faker is going to try and zone them, and they do so by making sure that Fate uses his Zhonya's. T1 able to disengage, but Liv Sandbox take this as an invitation to get right on top of the Baron. T1 indecisive right now, the Baron going down relatively slowly as Summit looking for his flank. There's the flash in! The exhaust is going to come down though, as now Summit's in trouble. He's going to fall immediately as Keria goes golden. Chains of Corruption connecting, but there's not that much damage on T1's side. Prince forced out of there, has some short-range weaponry at the moment. And it's a 4v4. Prince is the win condition as there's the Gnar. And Canna may have done it. They lock down Effort. As now right into the back line they go as they trade 1-for-1. It's supports now that have been taken out. Keria and Effort have both fallen down.
Got a nasty peek and gone back with a fresh health bar. And I don't think either team can go for Baron here, but they're now moving towards the objective. Kana coming in with the flank.
Yeah, immediate teleport to come through here as Fate looks for the chains, but only finds a hijack onto Teddy. Now Kana with absolutely 0 Mega Bar shows himself to the rest of Liv Sandbox. The 3 could collapse on him. He does not have his flash available, but can hop some walls if you would like to, and does do that. As we now see T1 trying to work out what they want to do, as it looks like Liv Sandbox will just walk over and take Soul Point.
And it's the threat that's available, right? Yes, you can approach her as T1, but if you get hit by Fate, if you get too close to Prince, you just die, right? You just outright lose the game. That might lose you the Baron, and that snowballs from there. And yeah, T1, they're playing with a gold lead, but it doesn't feel that way, Atlas, as Kana is about to hit Mini. Wonder whether they were going to look for an imminent collapse. Not going to be the case. And man, tough fight here, as the immediate exhaust is so big here. Everyone playing really nicely around Summit, expecting him to come from that angle. Double stopwatch used well. Fate not really able to get a lot done.
Yeah.
But the same can be said for Kana, right? Like, it takes Kana very long to actually get into relevant range. Also trying to preemptively go for the Gnar into the wall on Prince taking that objective. But now you're Aphelios and they're funneling into you in the choke point. So you don't want to do that.
About that.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. And then the threat of 100 to 0ing that Liv Sandbox had is too much. Soul Point is taken, but oh! Whew.
Okay, Teddy. Very close, but Summit might just be able to take him down here. Just needs one more Q, and that is good by Barretts. In the meantime, T1 are taking on the Baron. Let's see whether they can actually lock this one up. They're going to need to try and burst it. Lantern Rite is going to be taken here as T1 will be able to secure the Baron, but can they get out alive? Two-man Shockwave comes on through. Summit also has to use his Zhonya's, as now Owner is also going to go into his, but unfortunately it's not going to be enough as Liv Sandbox tidy up. It's Kana and Keria left with a Baron, but at least Liv Sandbox aren't going to be able to take one for themselves, but they might be able to break open the base off this one. It's 32.5 minutes into this game, and Prince does a heck of a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think they might be able to get in it here. Teddy's going to be up soon, but he alone is not enough to hold this up. And even with the Baron wave, you're not going to have enough time. I wonder if Liv Sandbox, do you want to try and flip it? Do you want to just try and go for the end? It's a big risk, not one they're willing to take, which I think is the right call. Composition can do fine later on as well, but I'm sure they were considering it there because there was still a window of opportunity without Faker's Shockwave. Much less threat available, and I think it's a trade you take as T1, but it's not an amazing one.
Yeah. Not the greatest. Certainly was a bit of a Hail Mary as this. Like, imagine if Prince just gets one shot here. You know, if that W-empowered Q is going to connect there from Teddy. Could have been a very different story. Could have been just a really clean take, but unfortunately Teddy overextends for the attempted kill. And it is going to be a punishment there from Summit. He's going to check here on the bottom side of the map. Kana, with his Baron buff, is going to get jumped on by Croco, but he's able to hop his way out of there. He's going to be okay. Also has Sterix and his Wit's End, plus the Warden's Mail that's now chilling. So he should be okay.
Renderance now done, and lack of vision prevent Liv Sandbox from chasing that much further. Yeah, that's the negative Baron power play. It's been a recurring theme this series. And as Liv Sandbox, you're feeling good, right? You're able to get these more scrappy fights. As Teddy gets killed, and then you get into a 2v2 or 3v3. As long as you can keep that going, your composition has an incredible amount of power. And it's not like it's just that, right? T1 needs players so respectful because Fade at this point is an absolute menace. The late gamer Silas, when he is level 18, when he has a couple of items free in this case, when he has a Dark Seal that's stacking, the quality of ultimates available for T1. It's terrifying.
Yeah, I'd agree. And it's also, as far as ease of execution, this composition works extremely well as there's the Solar Flare. Looking for some of these ultimates as Croco's going to flash his way out. Canna looking for the Narbar, but he's going to get denied. Prince with the Q from his Severum going to be able to deter the Gnar from running any further forward.
Lens used, and that might be a big one. Solar Flare as well, but should be up. All the Cloud Drakes mean that cooldown timers in this game, not really a thing, Atlas. We have them for every single fight.
Yeah.
Maybe Cloud Souls are the reason we get more action, not less.
Yeah, Azael was right all along, I tell you. As the teleports come through here from T1, Summit trying to turn this possibility as he's immediately going to get exhausted as Faker not going to get taken down here. Summit absolutely is, as that might have been an overly aggressive play. As now Live Sandbox setting up. Chain's not going to connect at all, as now Prince going to take a Lantern. Chains of Corruption connect, as that's a big Gnar from Fade. But where's the follow-up? He does find his Zonya's button. Shockwave comes through and they get rid of the Silas. Croco trying to get out of there as Owners dived on forward. Goodbye, Mr. Aphelios. There's not enough years quite available here for the Live Sandbox 80 carry, and now T1 pushing 4 strong down the bottom lane.
And it looks like both teams are looking for the Ant. Croco is very low. Kanna's going to try and defend. I don't think they can do this. If you have full health bar as Viego there, maybe. But Kanna is fed. He's at the ready.
Oh, not able to stop it. Man, that could have been big. But it is going to be the inhibitor taken one more time here from T1.
They're looking for it.
Yeah, we're going to go for the end. 5 members of T1 pushing on forward. 25 seconds on Fate, 22 on Prince. Is now effort desperately trying to keep these turrets alive. But T1, they are one-track focused. They want this 3-0. Hook is going to connect onto Faker, but it's not going to be enough. And T1, despite everything that happened in the mid to later game, they are still